Ladies and gentlemen, forgiveness is often viewed as an emotional process. We are taught to forgive because it's the right thing to do, because it heals the relationship, or because it restores peace. But let me tell you this, forgiveness is a decision, not a feeling. It is not something you do for others. When we forgive, we do so not to free the offender, but to liberate ourselves from the bondage of resentment. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as something that requires an emotional breakthrough or a dramatic reconciliation. In truth, forgiveness is much more profound than a fleeting feeling or a verbal expression. It is not dependent on how you feel about the person who wronged you, nor is it about waiting for their apology or for them to change. It's a conscious decision to release resentment, anger, and pain that binds you to the past. It is about choosing peace over conflict, not for the sake of the other person, but for your own well-being. When we forgive, we are often told that it should come with an emotional release, that we must feel lighter or relieved. But sometimes forgiveness doesn't come with an immediate sense of freedom. It doesn't always feel like a sudden weight being lifted off our shoulders. Sometimes forgiveness is a quiet decision made in the depths of your heart. It's an internal process that doesn't require an outward declaration or even a change in the other person's behavior. It's a personal commitment to stop allowing the past to define your present or future. In reality, many people believe that forgiveness must be vocalized, that a person must explicitly tell the other, "I forgive you." While that might be meaningful for some, it's not the only way to forgive. Forgiveness can be a silent process, a choice to no longer hold on to bitterness or anger without ever needing to speak to the person who caused the hurt. In fact, some of the deepest acts of forgiveness occur in silence. The pain that was once tied to the person who hurt us gradually fades because we have chosen to release it quietly within ourselves. It is the kind of forgiveness that doesn't seek acknowledgement from the other, but rather seeks freedom from the burden that resentment creates. One of the most empowering aspects of forgiveness is recognizing that it is for your peace of mind, not for the person who wronged you. When we hold on to anger, bitterness, or the desire for revenge, we allow ourselves to be held captive by emotions that prevent us from moving forward. Forgiveness isn't about excusing the actions of others. It is about choosing to stop letting their actions control your thoughts and emotions. It's a decision to say, "I will no longer carry this burden. I will no longer be trapped in this pain." In many ways, it is a form of self-liberation, where you break free from the emotional chains that bind you to someone else's wrongdoing. For those who believe that forgiveness must come with reconciliation or continued interaction, the idea of forgiving in silence can be challenging. We often feel compelled to have a conversation with the person who wronged us, to seek closure, or to restore the relationship. However, this is not always necessary. Forgiveness doesn't demand that we return to a situation that may have been harmful or toxic. It does not require us to maintain a relationship with someone who has hurt us repeatedly. In fact, sometimes the most powerful form of forgiveness is walking away silently, choosing not to engage further. It's the ability to forgive someone and still protect your peace by creating the necessary boundaries. Silence does not imply unresolved anger or lingering resentment. Instead, it signifies the quiet strength of knowing that your peace is non-negotiable. By forgiving in silence, you free yourself from the need to explain, to justify, or to demand an apology that may never come. It is an act of maturity, understanding that some people may never be capable of providing what you need to heal, and that is okay. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself, not forcing others to fulfill expectations. In many ways, choosing to forgive in silence requires emotional intelligence and inner strength. It takes maturity to recognize that forgiveness is not about what the other person deserves, but about what you need to move forward. It requires the wisdom to understand that holding on to the past can only hinder your future growth. Silence becomes your tool for healing, a way to let go of the past while embracing a future that is no longer held hostage by previous wounds. Forgiving in silence also teaches us the importance of protecting our inner peace. In a world that constantly demands attention and interaction, we sometimes forget that we don't need to engage in every situation or with every person who has wronged us. There are times when the most powerful thing we can do is to simply walk away. It doesn't mean we haven't forgiven. It means we have made a conscious decision to let go of the past, to stop rehashing the pain, and to no longer allow someone else's actions to dictate how we feel about ourselves. Letting go of the past through silent forgiveness allows you to reclaim your emotional energy and focus it on the present and the future. You no longer give someone else the power to control your thoughts or your actions. You release the hold that anger, resentment, and hurt have on you, and you allow yourself to move forward in peace. This process of silent forgiveness is not easy, but it is one of the most freeing and empowering decisions you can make. It is a choice that says, I will not be defined by what others do to me. I will define myself by how I choose to respond. Ultimately, forgiveness is about giving yourself the gift of peace. It is not about changing the past or fixing what cannot be undone. It is about letting go of what holds you back and embracing the freedom to move forward with a heart that is unburdened. Forgiveness in silence is the most powerful form of self-liberation because it allows you to move beyond pain without needing to explain or justify your actions to anyone. Silence is often seen as a void or an absence, something that needs to be filled with words, action, or noise. But sometimes silence holds the greatest power to heal. In a world that is constantly buzzing with communication, noise, and the pressure to explain or justify every action, silence can be the most profound response. There are moments in life when saying nothing speaks far louder than words ever could. Silence becomes an act of strength, a deliberate choice to prioritize your peace over the chaos of unresolved conflict. When we are wronged, it's natural to want to confront the person who hurt us, to speak our truth, or to demand some form of resolution. We might feel the need to explain ourselves, to make the other person understand the depth of our pain, or to reconcile in a way that feels just and fair. However, the act of engaging in these battles often leads to more pain, more confusion, and more frustration. The pursuit of reconciliation, especially when one party is unwilling or incapable of understanding, can become a source of even greater stress. But when we choose silence, we bypass the potential for more conflict and instead create a space for healing. Silence in this sense is not a sign of weakness or avoidance. It is an intentional and powerful choice to withdraw from the need for confrontation and drama. By choosing not to engage, you stop the cycle of pain and frustration that can come from verbal exchanges that are unlikely to lead to resolution. It becomes a form of liberation, liberating you from the need to explain, to seek validation, or to wait for the other person's acknowledgement of their wrongs. In silence, you are telling yourself that your peace is more important than the potential drama of engaging with a situation or a person who may not be ready for or open to change. Forgiveness in silence doesn't mean that the offense didn't matter or that you've somehow diminished the impact of the hurt. Silence is simply a choice to not allow the situation to continue to dominate your emotions, your time, or your life. By not reacting, by not responding, you reclaim control over your own state of being. You choose not to be governed by the past, and you protect your mental and emotional well-being by refusing to re-enter the turmoil that was caused. In many ways, silence is an act of emotional maturity. It takes a great deal of strength to not engage in the noise of conflict or to pursue a resolution that may only lead to more hurt. By choosing to remain silent, you are saying that you do not need anyone's validation to move forward with your life. You are choosing peace over pride, healing over justice, and freedom over the urge to be heard. In moments of emotional pain or misunderstanding, silence allows us to collect our thoughts, regain our composure, and avoid saying things we might regret in the heat of the moment. It allows us the time and space we need to process the hurt, reflect on our feelings, and ultimately come to terms with the situation. Silence can also act as a form of self-respect. When we choose not to engage in verbal confrontations or arguments, we demonstrate to ourselves that we are worthy of peace. It signals to us that we understand our value and that we do not need to indulge in the drama or negativity of others. It tells us that we can handle pain, betrayal, or disappointment without losing ourselves in the process. In choosing silence, we refuse to lower our standards by engaging in petty or destructive exchange. We maintain our dignity and refuse to allow external conflict to dictate our emotional state. Furthermore, silence provides a much-needed space for clarity and reflection. Often when we are caught in the emotional chaos of confrontation, we are unable to see the bigger picture. We may react out of anger or hurt, which clouds our judgment and prevents us from seeing the situation with perspective. But when we remain silent, we create room for the dust to settle. In that stillness, we can gain insight, process our emotions, and understand what the situation means for us moving forward. Silence is an opportunity for inner peace, for self-reflection, and for understanding what is truly important in the situation. Forgiveness in silence also has the power to heal not just the person who was wronged, but the person who wronged them as well. Often, when we choose silence, we are removing ourselves from the need for the other person's approval or response. We stop trying to force an apology or a change in behavior. This non-reaction may even lead the person who caused the hurt to reflect on their own actions. Sometimes people need to come to their own realization about what they've done wrong, and silence can be a way of giving them the space to do so. It might be in that silence that they recognize their mistake, and it may open the door for their own transformation. The power of silence is truly immense when it comes to forgiveness. It is not simply about refusing to engage or retreating into isolation. Silence in this context is a conscious decision to heal, to protect your peace, and to free yourself from the emotional chaos of further conflict. It is a reminder that you do not need to shout or demand attention to claim your peace. You can choose to heal quietly, without drama, and without needing anyone else to approve of your decision. Through silence, you allow yourself to move forward unburdened, confident in the knowledge that peace is something you can create from within. Forgiveness is often misinterpreted as a requirement to resume a relationship with the person who has hurt us. We are sometimes led to believe that if we truly forgive someone, we must reconcile and return to the same dynamic that caused the pain in the first place. However, the truth is that forgiveness does not obligate us to maintain a relationship or continue to engage with someone who has wronged us. Forgiveness is not about restoring the status quo or forcing a return to a relationship that may have been unhealthy or toxic. It is about releasing the offense, freeing ourselves from the emotional burden, and choosing peace without needing to engage in the same harmful patterns again. Forgiveness is primarily about letting go of the hurt. It's an inner process of choosing to no longer carry the weight of anger, bitterness, or resentment. It's about making the conscious decision to stop allowing the actions of another person to control your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This act of forgiveness does not require you to open the door to further emotional harm by re-entering a relationship that is no longer beneficial or healthy for you. Letting go of the offense and letting go of the relationship can, in fact, go hand in hand. Forgiveness is about maintaining your integrity and peace, even if that means stepping away from someone who has hurt you. Sometimes distance is not only necessary, but essential for healing. When we forgive someone, we do not need to subject ourselves to further emotional turmoil or continue to be exposed to the same dynamics that caused the hurt in the first place. We have the right to protect our well-being and to choose not to engage in relationships that no longer serve us. The idea that forgiveness requires us to resume a relationship is a false notion that can lead to more pain and frustration. True forgiveness gives us the strength to move on, even if that means creating boundaries and choosing not to stay in contact with the person who hurt us. In many cases, maintaining a relationship with someone who has hurt you can prevent you from fully healing. Constant interaction with that person can reopen old wounds and prevent you from moving forward. When we allow ourselves to be in continuous contact with someone who has caused us pain, we risk getting stuck in the past and perpetuating the cycle of hurt. Sometimes, the most loving and compassionate act we can do for ourselves is to step back and give ourselves the space we need to heal, without the pressure of maintaining a relationship that is no longer beneficial. Choosing not to re-engage in a relationship after forgiveness is not about holding on to grudges or refusing to be compassionate. It's about exercising wisdom and understanding that some relationships have reached their expiration date. Just because we forgive someone does not mean we must continue to be a part of their life, especially if their actions have proven to be harmful or if they are unwilling to change. Forgiveness allows us to move on from the offense, but it does not mean we are obligated to put ourselves back in the same situation. Sometimes, the most loving thing we can do for both ourselves and the other person is to let go of the relationship entirely. Forgiving someone is an act of emotional freedom, but it's also about self-respect. When we allow ourselves to forgive but choose not to re-enter the relationship, we are showing ourselves that we value our emotional well-being and peace more than the need for reconciliation. We are acknowledging that our healing and growth are not dependent on the other person's actions or approval. Forgiveness does not diminish our need for boundaries. In fact, it often strengthens our ability to set healthy limits that protect us from further harm. It's important to remember that forgiveness does not mean that we are condoning the wrong that was done or pretending that everything is okay. Forgiveness is not about excusing bad behavior or ignoring the damage that was caused. It is simply about choosing to release the hold that the offense has on us. We let go of the resentment and anger, but that does not mean we must continue to subject ourselves to the same person or circumstances that caused the pain. The choice to forgive is ultimately about regaining control of our own hearts and minds without being tethered to someone else's actions. There are also times when forgiveness involves recognizing that the other person may not be ready for reconciliation or change. In these situations, the most compassionate thing you can do is to give them the space to grow while you protect your own peace. By maintaining distance, you allow the other person to work through their issues without enabling further harm to yourself. It's possible to forgive someone without rushing to rebuild a relationship that may be unhealthy or unbalancing. Sometimes the best way to love and care for yourself is to honor your boundaries and let the relationship go. Forgiveness allows us to release the past and move forward, but it does not require us to go backward. We can choose to forgive and at the same time choose not to engage further with someone who has hurt us. Forgiveness in this sense becomes an empowering act of self-care. It is about healing ourselves, maintaining our peace, and respecting our need for boundaries. It is a declaration that our worth is not dependent on any relationship, and that we are strong enough to move forward with grace and dignity, even if that means walking away from a relationship that no longer serves. True forgiveness is often misunderstood as something we do for the benefit of the person who wronged us. Many people hold on to grudges because they believe that by holding on to anger and resentment, they are somehow punishing the other person or making them feel the weight of their wrongdoing. However, what they may not realize is that by clinging to those negative emotions, they are not hurting the other person, they are only hurting themselves. Holding on to anger and resentment keeps us tethered to the past, preventing us from moving forward and fully embracing the future that lies ahead. Forgiveness at its core is not about the other person. It is about you. It is an act of self-liberation. The decision to forgive is a conscious choice to free yourself from the emotional chains that bind you to a moment in time, a person, or a situation that has caused you pain. When we forgive, we are not excusing the wrongdoing or pretending that it didn't hurt us. Instead, we are choosing to release the grip that the offense has on our hearts and minds. We are saying, I will not allow this hurt to control me any longer. Forgiveness is ultimately about reclaiming our own emotional and mental freedom. When we hold on to a grudge, we give the person who hurt us an incredible amount of power over our lives. They dictate our emotions, our thoughts, and sometimes even our actions. We might find ourselves replaying the event over and over in our minds, stewing in anger or hurt, or imagining ways to get even. But all of this mental energy spent on someone else's actions only drains us. It prevents us from focusing on the present, on our own growth, and on the opportunities that lie ahead. True forgiveness is a conscious choice to let go of that mental and emotional burden. It is about choosing to focus on what is best for you, rather than being stuck in the past. In reality, holding on to anger does not harm the person who wronged us nearly as much as it harms us. We might think that by staying angry, we are somehow making the other person pay for what they've done, but the only person we truly punish in the process is ourselves. Anger and resentment consume us, cloud our judgment, and make it difficult to experience joy, peace, and emotional well-being. We end up carrying the weight of the hurt long after the offense has occurred. This emotional baggage can have lasting effects on our mental and physical health, affecting everything from our relationships to our overall happiness. True forgiveness, then, becomes an act of self-care. It is a decision to let go of the poison of bitterness and move toward healing. By forgiving, we are not condoning or excusing the behavior that hurt us. Instead, we are acknowledging the pain, accepting that it is part of our story, and then choosing to move beyond it. We are saying, I will not let this define me. I will not let this event determine my future. Forgiveness is an act of empowerment because it allows us to take control of our own emotional response. It allows us to decide that our happiness, peace, and growth are more important than the ongoing anger or resentment we may hold against someone. Forgiveness is also about releasing the need for the other person's apology or acknowledgement. Often we remain angry or resentful because we are waiting for the person who hurt us to recognize the wrong they've done and to apologize. But waiting for someone else to validate our pain can be an endless cycle. Sometimes the person who hurt us may never apologize, or they may not even be aware of the impact of their actions. In these cases, forgiveness becomes a way of freeing ourselves from the trap of waiting for something we may never receive. We forgive not because the other person deserves it, but because we deserve peace, clarity, and the freedom to move on. True forgiveness is a way of protecting your future. It allows you to move forward without the baggage of past hurts weighing you down. It opens the door to new opportunities, new relationships, and new possibilities. When we hold on to anger, we are essentially keeping ourselves trapped in a place we cannot move forward from. Forgiveness, however, gives us the keys to unlock that door and step into a brighter future, unencumbered by past pain. The power of forgiveness lies in its ability to release us from the control that others' actions have over our lives. When we forgive, we take back the power that was once in the hands of someone else and reclaim ownership of our emotions and our peace. It is a declaration that we will not be defined by the wrongs done to us, but by our ability to rise above them. We become stronger, more resilient, and more capable of living fully in the present and future. In the end, forgiveness is not a gift we give to others. It is a gift we give to ourselves. It is a process of releasing the past, letting go of hurt, and choosing freedom. It is an act of self-liberation that allows us to heal and move forward with our lives, unhindered by the pain that once held us back. True forgiveness is about us, about choosing to live a life of peace, joy, and emotional well-being, no matter what others may have done to us. Forgiving in silence is not a decision that comes easily for many, and it requires a level of maturity and strength that transcends simple emotional responses. This path of silent forgiveness is not for the faint-hearted. It demands emotional intelligence, the ability to understand your own emotions and manage them effectively. It calls for spiritual strength, an understanding that peace and inner tranquility are more important than engaging in ongoing conflict. Silent forgiveness is not about avoiding confrontation out of fear, but rather choosing to rise above it in a way that demonstrates true emotional mastery. When we forgive in silence, we are choosing a path that requires deep self-awareness. We must know our worth and understand our values, because it is these core beliefs that guide us in making the decision to forgive. This is not a passive forgiveness, but an active decision to let go of anger, resentment, or the desire for retaliation. It requires us to recognize that we are not defined by the wrongs others have done to us, but by our own ability to maintain our integrity and peace. We must have the strength to detach our sense of self from the actions of others, and instead focus on the power we hold within ourselves to heal and move forward. This kind of forgiveness requires us to maintain control over our emotions. It is easy to give in to the instinct to react to hurt, to want to shout, to demand justice, or to express our pain outwardly. But silent forgiveness requires us to be more discerning in our response. It demands that we pause, reflect, and choose a course of action that is not driven by emotional impulses, but by our desire for peace and resolution. We recognize that engaging in further conflict or allowing ourselves to be consumed by anger only prolongs the pain and keeps us bound to a negative cycle. Instead, we choose silence, not because we don't care, but because we know that silence has its own power to heal and elevate us above the situation. The strength required to forgive silently is also a form of emotional resilience. It is the strength to walk away from a situation without allowing the hurt to define us. It takes courage to forgive in silence because it means that we must resist the temptation to seek validation from others or demand closure. Instead, we make peace with ourselves and our feelings. This requires a deep understanding that forgiveness is not for the other person's benefit, it is for our own. By forgiving silently, we let go of the hold that the situation or person has on us, and we refuse to allow it to dictate our emotional state any longer. Spiritual strength plays an equally important role in this type of forgiveness. It is about connecting to a deeper sense of purpose, to a belief that peace within ourselves is worth more than winning an argument or receiving an apology. Forgiving in silence reflects a deep spiritual understanding that we do not need to engage in every situation. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is to release the situation to a higher power, trusting that we are guided toward healing and that our peace is something that cannot be taken by external circumstances. In forgiving silently, we elevate ourselves above the drama of conflict. This kind of forgiveness does not allow us to become entangled in the mess of blame, accusations, or justifications. Instead, it places us on a higher ground where we are free from the need to prove anything, to justify our emotions, or to make anyone else understand our pain. We choose peace, not because we are avoiding confrontation, but because we recognize that peace is the ultimate goal. Silent forgiveness doesn't diminish our pain. It simply allows us to move beyond it with dignity, without needing to make anyone else part of our healing process. The maturity required for silent forgiveness also involves the wisdom to know when to walk away and when to let go. It's the ability to discern that some situations and people are not worth investing more emotional energy into. We understand that we can forgive without reopening old wounds or staying in relationships that no longer serve us. In choosing silence, we allow ourselves to grow and evolve, unaffected by the toxic dynamics that may have once held us back. We elevate ourselves by refusing to engage in battles that will only leave us exhausted, frustrated, and emotionally drained. The path of silent forgiveness also allows us to avoid the temptation to seek external validation or acknowledgement. Many people hold on to grudges because they are waiting for an apology or an explanation. But silent forgiveness requires the maturity to release the need for closure from the other person. It is about finding closure within ourselves. By forgiving in silence, we trust that our own peace is enough. We no longer need others to recognize their wrongs or to validate our feelings. We are confident in the decision to let go and move forward, knowing that forgiveness is a personal act that serves our own well-being, not anyone else's. This type of forgiveness strengthens us, elevates us, and allows us to move through life with a greater sense of emotional maturity and spiritual depth. It is a reminder that our peace is non-negotiable, and it empowers us to navigate life's challenges with grace. Forgiving in silence does not mean we are weak or passive. It means that we are wise, strong, and mature enough to choose the high road, to rise above the conflict, and to protect our inner peace, no matter what the world or others may throw our way. Letting go of the past is one of the most powerful acts of empowerment we can undertake. Holding on to past hurts, grudges, or unresolved conflicts only serves to anchor us in a time and place that no longer exists, preventing us from moving forward and reaching our full potential. When we forgive and walk away silently, we are not just releasing others from our judgment, we are releasing ourselves from the emotional weight that holds us back. We create the space to evolve, to grow, and to embrace the future that is waiting for us. Forgiveness in its truest form is an act of self-liberation. When we forgive and let go of the past, we stop allowing the actions of others to dictate our present and future. We recognize that the people who hurt us, or the situations that caused us pain, do not have the power to define who we are or what we are capable of becoming. The past may have shaped us, but it does not have to control us. By choosing to forgive and move forward, we take ownership of our lives, our decisions, and our destinies. It's easy to become trapped in the cycle of reliving past wounds, constantly rehashing the same events and allowing the hurt to consume us. But by forgiving and walking away silently, we are making a deliberate choice to stop the cycle of pain. We are choosing to let the past remain where it belongs, behind us. The past is gone. It cannot be changed. The more we hold on to it, the more we block ourselves from the possibility of new beginnings, fresh opportunities, and personal growth. Letting go allows us to leave behind what no longer serves us and to clear the path for what is yet to come. When we forgive and walk away in silence, we are taking a powerful step toward reclaiming our future. By releasing the hold of past hurt, we free ourselves from the emotional chains that keep us tethered to old stories, old identities, and old patterns of behavior. We stop living as though we are defined by the things that have happened to us, and instead we begin to live as though we are defined by the choices we make moving forward. Forgiveness is not about condoning or excusing the wrongs that were done to us. It is about deciding that our growth is more important than staying stuck in a place of pain and resentment. The future we desire requires space for new possibilities, new opportunities, and new relationships. When we carry the weight of past wrongs with us, we limit our capacity to receive the good that is waiting for us. By letting go, we open ourselves up to a future filled with hope, healing, and transformation. We no longer allow our past to determine our trajectory. We choose instead to be defined by our ability to move beyond it. The act of forgiveness, especially when done silently, is a form of taking control of our lives. It's an acknowledgement that we are the authors of our own stories, not the people who have hurt us. We have the power to choose how we move forward, how we define ourselves, and how we shape our futures. Letting go of the past creates space for personal evolution. We become freer, lighter, and more open to the possibilities that await us. Our future is no longer dictated by the pain and betrayal of the past. It is ours to shape, ours to create, and ours to embrace. Moreover, letting go is not just about emotional freedom, it is also about mental and physical freedom. Holding on to the past takes an enormous toll on our energy, our focus, and our well-being. The longer we allow past hurts to dictate our present, the more we rob ourselves of the power to focus on the here and now. Our minds are cluttered with memories of the past, and our energy is drained by the weight of resentment. By choosing to forgive and move on, we release this burden and allow ourselves to operate at our full potential. We regain the mental clarity to focus on what truly matters and the emotional strength to face new challenges with resilience and grace. When we forgive and walk away, we are sending a message to ourselves that we are worthy of a bright future, free from the shadows of past mistakes, conflicts, or betrayals. We are telling ourselves that we deserve peace, happiness, and success, and that these things will not be held hostage by things beyond our control. Letting go of the past empowers us to step into our future with confidence, ready to face new experiences, new relationships, and new opportunities that will align with our values, our purpose, and our desires. Forgiveness also paves the way for healing. It allows us to heal not just from the pain caused by others, but also from the emotional scars we have inflicted upon ourselves by holding on to those pains for so long. When we let go, we create space for emotional recovery and inner peace. We allow ourselves to heal completely, unburdened by the past, and open ourselves to the fullness of life and love. Letting go is a form of self-care, an affirmation that our happiness and growth are more important than anything that has been done to us in the past. By forgiving, walking away silently, and letting go of the past, we align ourselves with the limitless potential of the future. We stop letting past pain define us, and instead, we choose to define ourselves by our capacity to move forward, to heal, and to grow. In letting go, we open the door to new beginnings, new horizons, and greater possibilities than we could have imagined. Our future is no longer bound by the mistakes, regrets, or wrongs of the past. It is shaped by the strength, wisdom, and resilience we gain through the act of forgiveness and the choice to move on. In conclusion, forgiveness is not merely an emotional release. It is a profound decision of the will, a declaration of freedom that you make for yourself, not for anyone else. It is a choice to break the chains of resentment, bitterness, and anger, and to step into a future where peace and growth are your guiding principles. When you forgive, you are not excusing the wrongs of others. You are releasing yourself from their control, lifting yourself above the hurt, and choosing to walk in the power of your own healing. Forgiving in silence is not weakness. It is a testament to your strength, to your emotional intelligence, and to your spiritual maturity. It requires the courage to elevate your mind above the noise of conflict and to value your peace over the validation of others. Silent forgiveness does not diminish your pain, but it magnifies your power to rise above it. It empowers you to move forward, letting go of the past and opening yourself to a future of greater possibilities, opportunities, and growth. You are not obligated to stay bound by the relationships or the situations that have hurt you. Your worth is not defined by the actions of others, and you are not required to prove your forgiveness through reconciliation. Forgiveness is not about them, it is about you. It is about choosing to liberate your own heart, to protect your own peace, and to move forward in the direction of your divine purpose. Letting go of the past is the key to unlocking the future. It frees you to evolve, to grow, and to embrace the greatness that lies ahead of you. The past no longer has the power to define you, and the chains of old wounds no longer have the power to bind you. You are a new creation, empowered to live with vision, purpose, and clarity. So choose to forgive, choose to walk away in silence when necessary, and choose to let go of the past. For in doing so, you open the doors to the abundant life that is yours to claim. Your peace, your freedom, and your future are yours to build. Don't allow the weight of yesterday to steal from you the promise of tomorrow.